welcome back. We're talking about truth today. In recent news, one of the major journalists in this country committed a cardinal sin in journalism. He distorted the truth. We wondered if it was going to be brushed aside. And then also, heads of states and head of even this country distorted the truth. Fabrication. And then we have over here people that will stand up for truth, and when they do, there's a backlash against people standing up for truth. Do y'all feel like we're living in a world that is upside down?
We have got to continue. We cannot stop. When that backlash comes, Dawn, we got to go head on against it. Too many people are backing off. And they're saying, oh, I don't want to deal with that.
Why do you think?
We've got to deal with it.
Why do you think they are?
I'm thankful that there were consequences. You know, I think that helps to encourage those of us who really want to see truth, and we're all going to make mistakes. Granted, that was an unexcusable mistake. You don't go out and you're in the public eye and you say something that you know very well is not true, that you know others know or is very well not true. It's going to come back.
Yeah.
You know, what you put out is going to come back around. So, but I was thankful that there were consequences, and there have not been consequences in others. I know we talked about what you said, heads of states and so forth, of saying, you know, that, oh, we were under fire. Another kind of situation, we were under fire as we came and landed and were headed, you know, to this particular in Iraq. But yet she did the same thing. Well, I'm just human. I misremembered something. It just shows that I'm human. That's not an excuse. That's not taking responsibility. So when we do make a mistake and we intentionally or we intentionally say the wrong thing because we're trying to fill something in, take responsibility and come back and say, I was wrong to do that.
I think on the case with the news anchor who just distorted the truth or didn't even tell the truth about it at all, that really was a case for me to say there need to be more programs like what we're doing.
Exactly.
You know, and there may be Christians out there that wouldn't watch our show or don't like our show. I mean, I can't imagine who. But you know what? We have an obligation to pray for more Christian media and for people, Christians, to be more out in the forefront of the media. And one of the things they said about that particular situation was that he jeopardized the American trust by telling that fabrication, which I don't think we should ever put our trust anyway into the national news media. But, you know, at least there are programs like this that are speaking truth. We're standing for truth.
We've got to stand.
You know, I think it's important for us to emphasize, you know, and teach our children that truth does not stand alone. I remember a situation with my son prior to being homeschooled. He was in middle school, and some students actually brought some alcohol to school and put it in little containers, and there was a group of children that was drinking it. Well, he witnessed it, and he told on them, because we teach him to tell the truth. Well, when he did, they decided to come together and say that he was a part of that group. So the school wanted to suspend him with the children. And so that was very discouraging to him, because he felt like he stood up for something right, but you know, this wrong is being done to him. Well, you know, we got behind him, and I think that's important, where I was saying that truth doesn't stand alone, because you know, we stood behind him because we understood and knew he was telling the truth. And so in the course of everything that happened, there were actually other students who didn't say anything at first, but ended up, you know,
they came forward
and they testified that he didn't have anything to do with it, and he was released from the situation. But
I'm glad that he was. But there are consequences sometimes. There are consequences to standing up, and sometimes it's hard. I mean, even as small as just speaking, when you know you're in a company with possibly non-believers and you don't want to offend someone, but you know God's urging you to just speak up.
It's not as hard if we know others are going to stand with us,
I know, but we've got to do it regardless, even if it is hard.
On social media this week, I have seen some that stood for truth and spoke against the wrongs that were being done, and people attacking them on social media because they stood up for what was right. And I'm appalled. I'm thinking, really? You don't think that was wrong? I mean, not even the golden rule. I mean, this is just wrong. What's your moral compass that you don't know right from wrong?
Well, and I think we see that trend in our country, and you kind of alluded to that when you opened about you know, our president did make, he was addressing the situation with ISIS recently. Now, he did say, I'll have to say on his behalf, he did say no God condones terror or violence, and I thought that was very good. But then he went back and he made reference to the Christian Crusades and, you know, kind of did a history lesson rather than addressing the immediate situation, making a stand for righteousness, even if it offended that group, and say, you know, that's wrong. We're not condoning that, and we're not going to support it, and we're going to fight it.
There is this new tolerance. You know, of that, the pressure is there. You need to be tolerant. You know, there is no absolute right from wrong. In a lot of people's eyes, what's right for me is right for me. It doesn't matter whether you think it's right or not.
Well, that side's not very tolerant when we come forth with the truth.
Exactly. That is very true. But
they're not very tolerant.
There's another piece of it that I think God really encourages us to do is speak truth in love. If we remember that each and every time we go and we're thinking, okay, God, give me the words. Help me to know what to say in this situation that I'm in. And He gives you a more tender approach than we might personally pull out there.
And we do have to just let go of that fear. And like you said, you speak the truth in love, but just rely. You know, rely on God and speak that truth and let the consequences fall where they may. I'm thinking about the mayor of Atlanta that just fired the fire chief because he wrote a book on his own time about his stand on marriage, which was biblical. And he got fired. He did that on his own time. Are the authority figures going to tell us what we can and can't do on our own time?
We're living in a day, really, you know, like Esther. She had to go before the king to save her people, and she said, if I perish, I perish. You know, and that's the kind of stand we've got to have as Christians today.
We may have to go before kings.
For such a time as this.
For such a time as this.
But didn't He tell us not to worry about it, that He'll put those words in our mouth when they...
And it's about trust.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know, if we really trust Him.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.